Are we live? Hey, we are live. What is going on? We are live. Hey guys, it is Lando from the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. We are streaming live right now, and we're ready to rock. We are talking waiver wire ads for week number 3. And we're good. There's my boy Mackie back on. You sneaky little guy, you just made us live.
No, I didn't.
We're up live. We're on YouTube right now. Yes, we are.
Can't be.
We are.
I disagree.
But
I doubt it.
But hey man, it's all good. We're good to go. We got 3 people watching right now in the chat. Say what's up. I'm about to tweet this out to get more people up on our YouTube page.
Yes, I did. All right, what up?
I told you.
That was not the plan. I just all right. Cool. Let's get it popping. So yeah, we've got a lot to talk about here, Lando. I think you want to kick things off with the injuries.
Absolutely. We have a massive injury report going out.
And some of which Raheem Mostert, Tevin Coleman, not on this list. Their injuries are a lot. I guess not as worse as some of these guys here, like Davante Adams. Yeah, in a game where Green Bay scored 42 points, you expected a lot more out of Davante Adams. But here we are. It's crazy. It's a crazy world we live in. Held to, I think, 6 or 8 fantasy points, depending on if you're in a half-point or full-point league. But Davante Adams is day-to-day right now, and I believe it's a hamstring injury, Lando.
Yeah, minor hamstring. It was told by the coach that if it was a closer game, he'd be back in the game. So that's why we're not too concerned with Davante Adams. Guy like Marcus Valdes-Scantling isn't higher up on the waiver wire priority. Same with Adam Lazard. There's really not. If you need a wide receiver, this is not the week to add a wide receiver. It is another week to add running backs, right, Max?
Certainly, yeah. And the beginning to this stream really just kind of threw me off. So if you are a first-time watcher of the show, welcome into the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Mac, and this is my co-host, the other way, it's this way, Lando. We are also without our producer, Scott. So you can get us on Instagram and Twitter at snap_fantasy. You can also get myself at mtout23. You can get Lando at Lando_FF and Scott at Scott of the North. Scrolling down this list, Saquon Barkley, torn ACL, out for the year. If you took Saquon Barkley in redraft, you are hurt, but you're not out. You are not down and out. Don't give up. Very, very easy when something like this happens. You lose a big piece for you to say, you know what, this is it for me. I'm going to throw in the towel. I'm going to fold it in. I had somebody today say to me, I'm done, man. It's over. There's no coming back. And I'm looking at this guy's team, Lamar Jackson at quarterback, Juju Smith-Schuster and Keenan Allen at wide receiver. And I'm thinking to myself, there's so much you can do with this team, man. My first instinct, if this is resonating with some of you watching, I would go 2-for-1 trade Lamar Jackson for a quarterback like Matt Stafford or Jared Goff, and pick up a running back or wide receiver that you could plug in there. Go trade that stud quarterback. Kyler Murray's another guy you could 2-for-1 trade if you lost Saquon. There's so many players that you can do that with. So that's what I'd be doing. 2-for-1 trading, picking up some depth, and trying to replace or go out and try and get one of these guys we're going to talk about in a little bit.
Yeah, I'm putting out a video tomorrow, kind of the fallout of Saquon Barkley and what to do and how you shouldn't give up. And I'm talking about trading. For some players that maybe have underperformed so far. So if you're watching right now, check out that other video tomorrow morning, and it can I go a little bit more in depth on who I like, who to trade for. Obviously, I talk about who to pick up as well.
And if you're not someone who's a big trader, and you're a little bit hesitant to pull the trigger, or you're unsure as to what the values are or what the strategies you can employ to make trades, I'm going to be releasing a trading video throughout this week. It'll probably be later in the week that you can use all the way up until week 9 or 10 or 11, depending when your trade deadline is. So watch for that video. If you guys haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Really helps us out. If you want to click that notification, the bell, it does alert you when we have released new content. Like I said, that trading video will be coming out this week and give you 6 to 8 weeks, depending on your league, advice to execute some trades to help you win your league.
Sounds good, Mac. All right, so people came for the running backs. They want to know who to add, how much FAAB to spend. Actually, we'll go over, I'll go over briefly. We have it up on the screen, but I'll go over briefly some of the injuries that happened. Obviously, Saquon Barkley out for the season. Christian McCaffrey to miss multiple weeks. So the top 2 fantasy players in your drafts are out right now for week 3 for sure. So I'll give for context. Last year, Saquon Barkley missed 4 weeks to a high ankle sprain. It sounds like this is a similar injury to Christian McCaffrey. So, and it took Saquon a few weeks to get back to his normal self. So I'm not really counting on McCaffrey being really that same dynamic player right away. But once he's fully healthy, he should be good to go. So, but we're expecting multiple weeks missing from Saquon Barkley. Quarterback Drew Lock should be at least 2 weeks out. Implications are going to be his pass catchers, one of which he won't have in Cortland Sutton. He is out for the year with a torn up knee.
That one hurts.
That really hurts. We were big on Cortland Sutton this year, and it's really tough. But good up for a guy like Jerry Jeudy and Noah Fant. Next, like Mac mentioned, Devontae Adams, minor hamstring injury. Apparently could have went back in the game. Paris Campbell out indefinitely. So I'm expecting him. He's kind of week to week, probably out for the season. He's not a guy you can count on anymore. To me, this is kind of an upgrade for T.Y. Hilton a little bit, and then the rookie Michael Pittman. Lastly, before on my notes here, Cam Akers has a rib injury, and then also Raheem Mostert has also some kind of knee injury as well. So that's what we have so far. Hopefully this game on Monday Night Football doesn't have any more significant injuries to anyone.
I've got just to interrupt here, I've got a question coming in from a friend. He wants to try to acquire Travis Kelce in a deeper league. He might be joining the stream here in a moment, maybe asking his question, but what would you pay to acquire Travis Kelce to a potentially needy team? He's thinking of offering up Mark Ingram and Cooper Kupp. Would you do that trade for Travis Kelce, a positional advantage? I said try to go Mark Ingram and Mike Williams instead of giving up Kupp and see what you can get. Or if he doesn't like Ingram, maybe try to flash the Antonio Gibson if there's any hype train still there. But I would give up Mike Williams and Ingram for Kelce if the guy's desperate.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would need some more context to that. Like who his tight end is. If he just thinks he's got a bad tight end, but he's really got a good one. I'm not like tight end is a generally volatile position as it is. Even a guy as good as Travis Kelce is going to bust. So even if he had a Darren Waller or something, I think you would stick to your guys. But I'm not too sure. I'm not someone that is going after Travis Kelce at this point. I'm going to kind of let whoever I have at tight end kind of marinate. I was taking guys like Noah Fant, T.J. Hawkinson late. So, I'm not sure, Max.
So let's get to these waiver targets. Now, we have a little bit of a disagreement on who our number one guy is. And I think when it comes down to it, we're both looking to try to get a piece of that starting role in New York. Not to say that the Giants are, setting the world on fire here offensively, but we do want a share of that. And I want to take a shot on Devonta Freeman. I already have him wavered in a bunch of leagues, but he's only 11% owned right now across Yahoo leagues. So he's a guy that's readily available on close to 90% of your waiver wires. I'm saying spend anywhere between 30 and 40%. You seem to think it's Mike Davis that should be the guy. I mean, we have him at 25%, but you said spend more like 40. I said more like 10, so we kind of met in the middle-ish around 25. Give me your thoughts on Devonta Freeman, and then we'll pivot to Mike Davis.
So Devonta Freeman, as we are speaking right now, is meeting with the Giants. Right now, we don't know if he's going to land there or not. We'll see. Obviously, they will never have Saquon back this season. So that's where I say you would have the advantage of saying, well, if Devonta Freeman signs there and he's the bell cow, you have a running back for the entire season. What I'm saying is, even if Devonta Freeman signs there, I do believe Dion Lewis will be mixed in. Devonta Freeman is not to Saquon Barkley. Obviously, what we saw last year in a really good offense in Atlanta, he didn't really do anything. He didn't produce when he was healthy. It didn't look great to me. So whether or not he is going to be the guy in New York is still yet to be seen. If we knew for sure he was signing, then I would agree that 30 to 40%, like Tenacious KB is saying. He's asking if we're really willing to spend that kind of much on a guy that doesn't have a team, and that's kind of my question too, Mac. Is that right now I don't know if I'm willing to spend up right now, to me, even though you are.
Yeah, and so this is what I look at right now. You know, people that spent up money on Adrian Peterson, we saw guys spending 25-30% of their budget and didn't really pan out. Devonta Freeman is a guy who we've seen be a fringe RB1. You know, he finished, I think, running back 15 in his final year with Atlanta. We've seen him be productive. He's had lots of interest from NFL teams. He turned down $4 million a year with the Seahawks, wanted more. I think he's going to have to come off that price a little bit. But when Devonta Freeman lands a job, it's going to be with a team who has experienced significant loss, and that is the New York Giants. I just think, what is the ceiling for a player like Devonta Freeman? It's far higher than Dion Lewis because it's season long and he's going to be the lead back should he sign there. If Dion Lewis is the guy season long, I don't think it's really, it might be RB3 range that he really produces. I can't see Dion Lewis being the sole guy. Wayne Gallman will be worked in. It'll be a committee approach. Mike Davis is interesting for the next 4 to 6 weeks, but that's what it's going to be at the most. And I think your upside is capped. So when I'm looking at spending on Mike Davis to replace CMC or taking a shot on Devonta Freeman, I'd rather spend the extra 10% for a guy who could give me year-long production for not much more. So I understand where you're coming from Mike Davis, but I'm saying put more of a gamble on Devonta Freeman because I do believe he plays football this year, and when he does, it will be in a starting role.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're going to have to agree to disagree on the price tag we're willing to pay for Devonta Freeman. I might not end up with him in any of my leagues, but I'm okay with that. If I had first priority, I mean, I would probably put Devonta Freeman right up there. I'd put him right up there with Mike Davis, especially if I lost Saquon Barkley. But maybe, hopefully by the time waivers come around, Devonta Freeman has a signed contract with the Giants. If he does not, Mac, by the time waivers run and he does not sign, like he left New York without a deal, would that number come down?
Yeah, I think it has to. And I think, the 35% is what I would be willing to spend if he doesn't. If he does sign with the Giants, I think that number goes up significantly for me because there's no disputing his talent. There's no disputing what he's able to do for a football team. And I think you're getting a running back too if he signs there. I think if he goes unrostered, I would be, he as of Wednesday, he's still not signed. It's a later signing in the week. I think I'd be still willing to spend up to that 35%. It's a shot that I'm willing to take as someone who is aggressive and wants running back depth in a year that so far has been very unpredictable. And with COVID, who knows what a second wave could potentially look like. I'm willing to take a shot.
All right.
That's where I'm at.
So with that being said, we are not spending up on Dion Lewis then, because we assume that at least they're going to sign Devonta Freeman, and Dion Lewis then becomes a secondary third down back for the New York Giants, which isn't too valuable.
Right.
So if you lost Christian McCaffrey potentially, then if you have a Christian McCaffrey on your team, then that's why maybe I'm more willing to spend up on Mike Davis. I would spend the 25 to 40% on Mike Davis to get me through these next 3 to 4 weeks. And we know that he's going to be the lead back, no question. Mm-hmm. He's going to get almost that 80% market share in that backfield for a pass-heavy, an offense that has a ton of weapons and firepower, and that if what we saw last week is willing to target Mike Davis. So for me, he's a fringe running back 2 in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So that's why I'm willing to spend up on Mike Davis. So that's where I would put my eggs.
Yeah, and again, just to reiterate, if the difference is going to be 10% between Mike Davis and Devonta Freeman, I would rather, me personally, be more aggressive, take the higher ceiling play, be more aggressive to get Devonta Freeman. But again, you have to know your league too. If you look at a team that maybe lost CMC or Saquon Barkley and they also happen to be deep, maybe you don't need to spend up. But that's where I would be willing to spend up to take a shot on Freeman, because I do think he does sign this year. And the 2 check marks beside Freeman and Davis, if you are in a league that doesn't use free agent acquisition budget dollars, a FAAB budget, we would be willing to spend priority on these 2 players. So outside of that, the next name on this list is Darrell Henderson. And he's fairly low. I mean, he had a good game, got you about 20 fantasy point. 12% is what we're saying. And Cam Akers, yes, he is week to week right now with a rib injury, but it's going to be consistently a Malcolm Brown, Darrell Henderson, and Cam Akers show. I mean, they all had a 33% target share in the first, or not target share, a carry count in the first week, had a very equal distribution of snaps. And I think that really kind of pans out the rest of the season, barring injury. So I'm okay to maybe have Darrell Henderson in the same capacity I have Malcolm Brown, but it's not a piece that I'm willing to blow the bank on, because I just think it's still going to be a committee approach the rest of the way.
Yeah, I agree. What we saw, it was a 3-headed monster there in LA, and you're right. I'm not willing to pay up on Darrell Henderson. I think for the next week or so, he could be a fringe flex play if you're super desperate. And that's the only reason you would put any kind of FAAB on Darrell Henderson. If you blew the bank week 1 on a guy like Adrian Peterson or Peyton Barber or Naheem Hines, and you don't have that kind of capital to spend, but you still need a running back, then maybe you put a little bit of money on Darrell Henderson just to have a guy in a desperate situation, because I don't expect Cam Akers to be playing, so Darrell Henderson at least has some guaranteed touches, which isn't easy to find on the waiver wire.
Quick update on the Mrs. Chen trade here. Travis Kelce for Mark Ingram and Julian Edelman wants a little bit of a more polished name than Mike Williams. Would you give up Julian Edelman and Mark Ingram for Travis Kelce? To one tight end league, it's not a premium or anything.
Who's his tight end? Why does he want Travis Kelce?
Who doesn't want Travis Kelce?
I mean, it just depends how much you're willing to give up for him. If it sounds like he has a decent depth at wide receiver, if he can afford to give up Edelman, yeah, sure. If like Edelman was on your bench anyways, you didn't have to draft him very high. So if Edelman wasn't really starting for you, for sure, that's a great upgrade at the tight end position.
Let me give you specifics here. I can pull up. I happen to play in the same league as Mr. Chen, Mrs. Chen.
He's really jumping in on our waiver wire live stream. This is something.
So he has Austin Hooper. So I understand the disappointment so far. He's also got Evan Ingram. But a solid team. I mean, he's got wide receivers: Metcalf, Kupp, Cooper, and then Edelman, Mike Williams, Deshaun Jackson. So I mean, he can afford to give up as well. Kenyon Drake, Melvin Gordon, Mark Ingram, Antonio Gibson, Sony Michel. So, I mean, I would probably, I would do that trade. I would give up those two players. Edelman had a big game, so that there's something as a trading piece for negotiating. I mean, how many targets did he have? It was gross. I think it was in the 20s.
Yeah, it was a lot. He had a big game.
I think it was like, it was wild. So I would do that trade.
Anyways, let's get back to the waiver wire episode. The reason why people are here.
So got 2 tight ends.
Drew Sample is in 2 tight ends that popped off. I mean, including Jordan Reed popping off, but I'm not expecting Kittle to be out for very much longer, which would render Jordan Reed pretty much unplayable to me.
Well,
now monitor that situation. If you want to add Jordan Reed, if we know like Kittle is out again, I think he could be started. But again, now Jimmy Garoppolo potentially is out as well, so you don't really want to play anyone in San Francisco if all their pieces are hurt.
No, and what we've known about Jordan Reed throughout his career as a fantasy football player, for us, like Jordan Reed when healthy has been dominant. He's been great, but as we've noticed with him, it's the injury bug, and it bites frequently with this guy. George Kittle's out, still going to be maybe a week or two. Jordan Reed will have little to no, it'll be negligible, the value that he has moving forward when George Kittle comes back. I'm not willing to put my faith into him. He's going to be probably injured again and irrelevant, and I just think it's a waste of money. I would much rather put my money on either Drew Sample, who was heavily targeted once CJ Uzomah went out, but the utilization of Joe Burrow and his tight ends has been very frequent, and the correlation there is strong. And then Dalton Schultz, I mean, you said it, man, like Blake Jarwin would have had a unbelievable season with the amount that Dak continues to target his tight end, whether it's Jason Witten, Blake Jarwin, or now Dalton Schultz. I think whether you put your money into Drew Sample or Dalton Schultz at the tight end position, I think it's worth a little bit of a flyer.
Yeah, totally. And if you're in a league that's a little shallower and Logan Thomas is still available, I would put him over those two guys.
Really?
Yeah, he was continually involved in Washington, and he seems to be a guy that the offense should run through Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas is what we're seeing so far. He's getting a ton of targets. I think he had some good red zone targets last week. Logan Thomas is, for me, above those two, in my opinion. But yeah, he's pretty owned in a lot of leagues.
Dude,
already.
What happened to Thaddeus Moss? What happened to that hype train?
Well, he wasn't drafted. No, I don't think he was. Yeah.
But he was on people's radar much more so than Logan Thomas. 100%. Kind of came out of nowhere.
Only because of his last name, and that's it, though. Let's be honest. He's Randy Moss's son. That's the only reason why he was on people's radars.
Coming at the bottom of our list, 5% on Justin Herbert. Now, the news here is that Anthony Lynn has come out and said Tyrod Taylor is going to still be our guy if he's healthy and ready to go. I don't know how much I believe in that. I mean, the decision-making here is questionable at best. You got your rookie, your franchise quarterback, comes in, starts the game against the MVP, Super Bowl winning Pat Mahomes, and takes them to overtime. You know, like, I don't understand why you think Tyrod gives you a better chance of winning. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I think Tyrod's probably not ready to go next week. Justin Herbert can come in and impress and really do what Baker did to Tyrod when he was in Cleveland. He can do that to him again. Rookie steals the show. I think Justin Herbert is the starting quarterback year long. He's a big boy, 6'5", cannon of an arm. I think it means good things for Keenan Allen. I think it's good news for Austin Eckler if Herbert is behind center in a 1 QB league. I'm not sure if I'd be willing to play Justin Herbert in many matchups, but I think he's maybe worth a little bit of a stash. But in a 2 QB league, he's certainly worth being rostered because quarterbacks don't come around often, and it's a good thing to have 3.
Yeah, totally. If you're in a dynasty league and for some reason Justin Herbert is on the waiver wire, I do believe I would blow priority on a guy like Justin Herbert. He looked really great in his first outing. He seems like a star in the making. Even though the coach speak, Anthony Lynn, does say that Tyrod Taylor is the starter, I do believe when it comes down to it and tires hit the pavement, they put Justin Herbert in. And he's a big boy. He can run. He could do it all. And he likes targeting his running backs, so which is great for the pass catcher, like good for Austin Eckler. Obviously, Keenan Allen had a big game with him, so and he's got a great deep ball, and that helps Mike Williams as well. So it feels like all fantasy assets are a go with Justin Herbert at the helm.
And that's why I just don't understand why Anthony Lynn comes out and says, I think we have a better chance to win with Tyrod. I mean, we've seen it with the Bills, we've seen it with the Browns, and now we're seeing it with the Chargers. It's just not the case. Tyrod's just not that guy. And
yeah.
In a deeper league, are there any plays that you're willing to, like you're in a 14, 16 team league, are there any plays that aren't on this list that you might be willing to take shots on?
That is a great question. Let me jump in on my 16-team league and see what's available.
So I've got one.
And I got
one while you look. Yeah. Green Bay Packers, Robert Tonyan, tight end. Now, I know what you're thinking, Mac. Aaron Rodgers doesn't use the tight end. He hasn't had a top 10 tight end since 2011 with Jermichael Finley. I get it. I know better than anybody. But listen. Robert Tonyan, when you look at player profile, his metrics are off the chart. I know they drafted Jay Sternberger, but who gets the red zone target this week? It's Robert Tonyan. And it might feel a little bit gross, but in a 16-team league where you've maybe lost a bunch of these players, you've lost Cortland Sutton, you've lost Saquon Barkley, and in a redraft league, there's no point in keeping them. Maybe stash Robert Tonyan, see what pans out. It's a gross play, it's a deep play, but maybe a good play.
I'm not taking Robert Tonyan. I know how frequently Aaron Rodgers uses the tight end, and I'm not going to put my fantasy hopes in on that. So you could do what if you want. You think if you need it desperately, if you have to start two tight ends for some reason, and that's your option. But in a deeper league, I would probably add a guy like Mo Alley Cox.
Gigantor.
He's a big boy. He got a ton of targets. Not a ton of targets. Let me see how. He had 6 targets, 5 receptions for 111 yards this past week. He was used by Phillip Rivers, and I think that's gonna keep on going. So deeper league, shoot, Mac, like in a for wide receivers, I don't mind adding rookies that haven't performed yet, like Chase Claypool or Michael Pittman, or if you have, those guys, I don't mind adding as kind of shots in the dark. That's kind of where
question
my
on
strategy
YouTube
lies.
Here from Danny S. In a 2 QB league, he has priority for the waiver wire. Does he pick up Deion Lewis or Justin Herbert? Between those two players, who would you be spending your priority on? I think the answer for me is Justin Herbert, just because it's a 2 QB league.
Yeah, I would also probably pick Herbert up. Deion Lewis will be a Deion Lewis is okay, but we expect even if they don't add Devonta Freeman, he's still not going to be great. He's still not going to be as valuable as a quarterback like Justin Herbert. And even if things don't go super right for Justin Herbert right away and Tyrod starts again, what we saw from him in his debut, he will get the opportunity soon. So even if he doesn't start this week, you can still start Danny Dimes, but you can potentially play Justin Herbert in the very future in that league. So great question. Actually, I was going to mention, if you have questions, even if you're watching this live or you're not watching it live, you're watching this tomorrow, drop in the comments on your specific questions, and we will answer every single one of them, and how much FAAB you should spend. It also depends on how desperate you are at the running back position. So maybe you had both. Maybe you're in an auction league and you have both McCaffrey and
Mm-hmm.
Saquon Barkley, and you need to spend up. Who knows? There's all kinds of interesting plays. So drop in the comments. If you haven't already, subscribe on YouTube. We are very close to that goal of 300 subscribers. So if you're watching, we appreciate you.
Do you
We do
remember
this
that
every week.
question before the season started? Would you rather have Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley and no picks until the 7th, or would you rather just have the 107 straight through? And had you taken that deal,
Yeah,
that's a sad team right now, man.
that's a sad team.
Update here on the Mrs. Chen front. He has put it in negotiation update. The guy has come back with Julian Edelman and Cooper Kupp for Travis Kelce. What's your temp?
No dice. I
0.
answered him already.
Okay.
Or her.
It is a pretty penny to pay. Danny S says, can he get an opinion on a trade? Absolutely. Anytime, brother.
Yeah, let's get it.
Well, Danny's typing. What's your temperature on Myles Gaskin, the running back for the Dolphins? He hasn't done much on the ground. He's 40 to 50 yards on the ground, but involved in the passing game, serviceable games. Hasn't gone into the end zone yet. Do you take a shot on him?
I like Myles Gaskin. I like him a lot, actually. And this week they play Jacksonville. I think that's a great matchup for him. They played Buffalo. It's really tough game, and he looked really great on the field when he did get that chance. So yeah, no, I am. I'm definitely adding
in a smaller league,
sure.
And that's why when we do our waiver targets, it's based on 12-team leagues. So this is what we would expect most waiver priorities to look like. But if you are in a shorter league and Mike Gesicki is on your lineup, I mean, this is exactly what we figured might happen with Gesicki with the shortage in receiving options for the Miami Dolphins. Mike Gesicki had 140 yards and a touchdown this week. Absolutely gross. Between him and Devontae Parker, there's just not a whole lot of options to catch the football. And if Mike Gesicki's there, time to maybe scoop and take a shot.
Oh, yeah, you should have had Mike Gesicki should not be on the waiver wire. I understand he only had 30 yards week 1, but come on, he had 130 week 2 against Buffalo. You need to start that guy. He's too athletic to leave on your waiver wire. I would spend some pretty FAAB on Gesicki.
Danny says 2 quarterback league, 3 wide receiver start. Would you trade Godwin and Kyler Murray for Jonathan Taylor, Amari Cooper, and Deontay Johnson? I think the question is who would the other 2 quarterbacks be? Or, I hope you have 2, because if you're going to a single quarterback, you just can't make that trade, even though the value is great. That's kind of my temp. But the Godwin piece is interesting. He should be back this week, concussion protocol.
Yeah, that's definitely a tough one. It seems like this time of year, it's almost good to have more players, more starting players on your team rather than less, based on the injuries we've seen. I kind of like his Godwin and Kyler Murray side.
He has
better.
Dak and Daniel Jones.
That's pretty good, but having Dak and Kyler, it seems like a league winner with Chris Godwin. Jonathan Taylor's amazing. I love Jonathan Taylor. He is a star in the making. He's probably going to be a top 5 pick next year, no question about it.
Big on Deontay Johnson, too. I mean, we both had him in our DFS slates this week. I've been aggressively trying to acquire him in leagues because when you look at that roster and how this team's functioning, I mean, yes, Juju scored the 2 touchdowns the first week, but Deontay Johnson was the more heavily targeted guy. Kind of reminds me of how Antonio Brown was used in this offense, and I really, really like the way they're using him. I think for Danny, the way I would handle this, if you can go out and grab Justin Herbert off your waiver wire, I know he's there because you asked the question. If you can grab Herbert, which gives you a little bit more stability, you get that 3rd quarterback. Now it puts you in a chance where you can say, all right, I'll trade away Godwin, I'll trade away Kyler, and I'll get one more startable piece. So you got Dak, who's great. You're going to give a little bit up with Kyler, but what you might get out of your other flex position, you might actually net more points. So try to get Herbert. If you're successful in waivering him, make that trade come Thursday. I think that's the way I would go with it.
Yeah, that's a good strategy, Mac. I don't like giving up Godwin, especially selling low on him. That's my
I
only
don't know if it's selling
hesitation.
low, though. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is primed to be a running back one, and Cooper, Deontay Johnson could, at worst, I think, be wide receiver twos.
Yeah.
I
I
mean, you
mean,
said so yourself. You're a
yeah,
little bit hesitant with Tom Brady. You said he just doesn't look good throwing the football right now, and it might not be as
yeah,
explosive as
yeah,
we think with Godwin and Evans.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. So maybe, yeah, Danny, that's not a bad idea. And Mac's our trade guy here. He's less committed to the players than I am. When I have my players in my team, I like to hold them tight sometimes.
Here's one
So
thought, Danny. I mean, Odell Beckham Jr. is coming off a bigger performance. You might want to get away from that if you can. I might try to work that deal with OBJ instead of Chris Godwin because we know how special Chris Godwin is. He would have played this week had he not got into concussion protocol late. So I would try to work that deal with OBJ, but I'm still okay with Godwin. It'd be better with OBJ, but I'm good with Godwin.
there you go. You heard it there.
He's getting
Godwin.
Oh, that changes everything.
Okay, so you like the side of Jonathan Taylor, Amari Cooper, and Deontay Johnson.
I do. I mean, having Dak and Kyler is fantastic, but I would rather have the three. I wouldn't give that up.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Danny. So keep the guys you have. Stick with Kyler, Dak, and then you could pick up Justin Herbert, and then you do have more trade pieces. You could sell possibly Danny Dimes for a whole ton. His schedule is really bad to start, but it opens right up. Maybe people will be off him, but I think in a 2-quarterback league, he's still going to present a ton of value.
Lastly, Brad, listener league participant, what are your thoughts on rolling the dice on Mohamed Sanu joining the 49ers? I mean, we're still waiting on Debo. We're still waiting on Brandon Ayuk to hit the field. What are you thinking?
Not in on
Sanu as well. Nick Mullen.
Yeah. Not to say he won't have one good game and a couple touchdowns, but I'm not buying it.
They're hurt on the ground, which is what they do best. They're going to have to rely on Jeff Wilson Jr. and Jerick McKinnon to carry the load. They've got injury riddled, bound to bite him in the ass, Jordan Reed at tight end. And then Jimmy Garoppolo is probably not going to play next week. He's week to week. Not on our injury report just because there's so many, but Nick Mullins will probably be starting at quarterback. So there's a lot going on there. Nick Bosa also gone. So defensive side of the field, not looking as good. The 49ers are in tough. I just don't want any piece of the offense right now.
Yeah, so what do you think? We didn't really mention Jerick McKinnon much. You are not in on him. You don't want to pick him up, even if you are low priority and you need a running back?
No, sir.
Okay, sounds good. Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to be involved as well. And
that's the thing. I think it will be a committee approach. It has to be. And Jerick McKinnon's a guy who got paid by the Vikings and then got injured, blew his knee out, and we haven't seen him since. And he's now 28 and carrying a workload, not being in the game for a while, coming off a knee injury is a tough ask. So I'm out. I think we'll go one more with Danny. I know he's saying he'll try to, facilitate some trades while he's got us on the line. Like Landon said, if you guys are still, on this stream, leave your comments below on your trades or any of your waiver moves, and we'll try to help you out as best we can. You can also get us on Instagram or Twitter at @snap_fantasy. And if you prefer, my advice over Landon's or vice versa, get us at our Twitter handles at mtout23, and you can get Landon at LandoFF. And we can help you out individually as well. But I also like Russell Gage. I think the target numbers close to double digit both weeks, and how much Matt Ryan is throwing the ball there in Atlanta, they can support three options. So I think Russell Gage is really nice, and we're still waiting on that Hayden Hurst little pop. So, I like what they're doing. Good for fantasy. They're blowing football games still. But yeah.
We are at 289 subscribers, Mac. We need to get up to that 300 mark. So I'm willing to stay on as long as we can.
I want to go watch some football,
until we
Lando.
get that 300.
I want to go watch some football.
I'm watching it right now. The Saints are up 10-0.
I think this is a good one. Again, if you guys want to reach out to us, please do so. We will have videos coming tomorrow on Saquon Barkley. Landon's doing a little bit of a rant. I'll be doing that trading guide coming out midweek that you can use all the way till week 10. And you can get us on socials if you do need to get a hold of one of us. And our regular podcast, if you haven't listened on Apple Podcasts, we're on Amazon Music now, Spotify, Google Podcasts, basically wherever you listen to one, Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. Our shows come out Thursday morning and Saturday morning, getting you guys primed up for the week. And appreciate you guys being here. Really love the support. If you could click that subscribe button or like the video, leave a comment. Means the world to us, helps us do this each and every week. And we'll see you guys on Thursday for the podcast. So have a good week. Go Saints. I need them for a perfect slate this week in my pick'em. And we'll see you guys next time.
Sounds good. See you, Mac.